Hello and welcome to the Oilers TV Mock Draft Show, the 2016 edition of the show. We've done this for 4 years now. Tom Gazzola alongside Jack Michaels and Bob Stauffer from the Oilers Radio Network. We're inside the Sport Chek flagship location at West Edmonton Mall, the impressive flagship location here. What a better place to do it. Guys, we did this last year. There was some controversy as to the selection of the first pick in the mock draft lottery. If we recall, Jack, you made the biggest stink about it.
What, with you getting the first pick or with you falling backwards out of your chair? It's nice to see you've remained vertical up until this point.
Thank you very much. You want to take a shot?
No.
Okay, see, classy Bob this morning. All right, so last year we went to picks 1 through 16. This year there's only 3 of us. We're going to go 1 through 15. We'll also do pick number 32. The Oilers, of course, owning 9 picks heading into the draft as of right now. So at the end of the round, we'll discuss pick number 32 and our thoughts on that. So without further ado, we've done a gentleman's agreement this year. Bob gets the first pick. I have second selection. Jack goes third, and we'll continue that rhythm through to 15.
And we should clarify, we didn't really give Bob the first pick, but we wanted to give him the 4th pick because it's owned by the Oilers, and we felt he'd be in a good mood.
I wasn't going to tell people that
as
secret.
an Oiler,
I'll let it
Oiler
be.
podium. All right, so let's
fair
have
enough.
it. This should be close to automatic.
Well, there's 2 guys for the number 1 spot, but I do think there's a little bit of separation. And Austin Matthews, Jack, we talked last year a bit about the fact that Jack Eichel has a chance to be, in 5 years from now, the best American player. Of course, there's Patrick Kane, there's Joe Pavelski, great players like that. I will add Austin Matthews to that mix. I mean, I think he's just a stellar player. There's no debate about it. I think that he showed very well in Buffalo. He has the personality. He's been brought up the right way to handle playing in the Toronto marketplace as well, which is important. Really sort of understated confidence that he's exhibited when dealing with things like the media, but the skill is just off the charts. So the Maple Leafs get a very, they get an excellent start in terms of where they're going with their rebuild with the addition of Austin Matthews. Though you do have to, I think you have to consider Patrick Laine, but for me, Matthews is the guy.
Okay, that takes us to number 2. That's me. I'm Kevin Cheveldayoff right now, and he did come out in recent days saying that the pick in their mind has been made, and we all think that that's going to be Patrick Laine. He's big, strong. He had a heck of a year, guys. MVP at the World Championships. He had a great World Junior. He also has a lot of confidence, and the Jets have a good, strong young core, and they don't seem to have that sniper, and he kind of fits that mold. Maybe they haven't had one since another Finnish sniper, Teemu Selanne, way back when.
In many ways, I think the top 2 this year are very similar to the top 2 last year, in the sense that Austin Matthews, like McDavid, a little more understated, and Patrick Laine, like Jack Eichel, a little, I guess, brasher, if you wanted to say, although not completely out of line by any stretch of the imagination. I think there's a lot of qualities to like about both players, but I think similar to last year, there's a clear edge for Matthews.
Okay, that takes us to number 3. Jack, you are Columbus, you're Jarmo Kekalainen. Where are you going with this one?
Well, part of it is to maybe liven up the show, but I've just got this hunch. I've got this hunch that Columbus is going to have a bit of a Tortorella influence on this pick, a guy who's been closing quickly, first kind of a top 10 guy. Then all of a sudden, well, maybe he's going to be a top 5 guy. Now, can he get into the top 3? I think he can. Matthew Tkachuk will go to Columbus at number 3. He's coming off a heroic performance in carrying London to the Memorial Cup. And I just have a feeling, very similar to Barkov going number 2 in 2013, that this draft is going to have a few surprises inside the top 5. That's mine.
When you say Tortorella effect, is that the American connection and style of play, or
I think it's both. Okay. I think Tortorella is eaten up. What does Tortorella love? He loves courageous, hardworking type of players. And exactly, that's Matthew Tkachuk. That's a guy who played on one leg and carried his team to the Memorial Cup. I think similar to Barkov in 2013, we'll have a surprise.
Puljujärvi is there at 4, and based on our mock,
Edmonton's running to the podium.
They're running to the podium. He's their guy. I mean, they need a right winger more than they need a left winger at this stage. The size, the frame, the strength of Puljujärvi would be very enticing to the Oilers organization. I mean, Peter Chiarelli, I think when he went to that lottery, thought the Oilers were going to end up getting a Finnish winger. And it was either going to be Laine or Puljujärvi. Instead, Edmonton dropped down the 2 spots. Now, in Tkachuk's case, I'm with you. I mean, he really close. Again, I think there's a couple different tiers here for the forwards, and the top tier are the top 2. It's pretty close for me between Puljujärvi and Tkachuk. Tkachuk's off the table, so for me, the pick at 4 for the Oilers would be Puljujärvi in that scenario.
Everyone's saying Jarmo Kekalainen. When we were in Buffalo last week, everyone was talking about how he's the wild card. So Bob reiterating that. That leaves us with pick number 5, Vancouver. I'll say they go with Pierre-Luc Dubois. He played center towards the end of last season. A guy that can shift from left to center. Big, strong. They need to restock the shelves with the Sedins kind of moving into the twilight of their careers. And with the move to get McCann out of there, maybe that warrants them looking at Dubois as being maybe another guy that could be a pillar in that organization, complementing Jake Virtanen and Bo Horvat, and so on.
At number 6, I think Calgary, like Edmonton, has a lot of skill up front, but they don't have a ton of size. So Logan Brown to me makes a lot of sense here. 6'6", 220, like Tkachuk. He's got that NHL pedigree. His dad Jeff played in the NHL. So I think Logan Brown makes a lot of sense for Calgary to go a little bigger up front with the number 6 pick.
All right, so we went through picks 1 through 6. Time now to take a look at what those guys had to say when we spoke to them at the Combine in Buffalo a week ago.
I think I'm extremely competitive. I compete hard. I elevate guys around me, and I think I have an inner drive that really separates me from the rest. Oh, well, it was definitely a step up at Worlds. I mean, that's a lot of really high caliber NHL hockey players, especially playing Canada and Russia, Finland. So it's definitely a step up. It's much faster. Guys are so experienced and so good that it just forces you to kind of elevate. Well, I definitely want to get stronger. It's so physical, smaller ice. It's definitely going to be a lot harder games. So I want to get stronger, and positioning without the puck defensively is definitely something I want to improve on.
I think I've showed my skills during the season, so I think I've done my work at the ice, and they can now decide. I think my strengths are my shot and my kind of ability to play with the puck. Is it shooting or passing or anything? I think I have a good vision. I have good visions on the ice, and I can read the game pretty well, and I think those are my strengths.
Throughout the year you meet with 1 or 2 scouts of their team, but that's it, and you get to meet with a whole bunch here and get to really know what they think of you after a long season, especially for myself. I played a lot of games this year, and they got to see me a lot, so just to hear their opinions and my opinion on myself, and some friendly back and forths with some teams if they disagree or if I disagree or something, but it was all good. I was happy to be put in a good role in London and a lot of great players and part of a great team that did something very special, and I would not trade this year in for anything.
I'm good skater, and I have good play, and I'm ready to play.
I moved center halfway through. I never played center before, but I think that's where I play my best hockey. So, I think as center in the future, I could play that position. But, I'm used to playing wing. I played wing my entire life, so maybe that's a position I'm more comfortable at.
All right, picks 1 through 6 are in the books for the 2016 edition of the Oilers TV Mock Draft Show. That takes us to pick number 7. Bob, you have that pick. You're the Arizona Coyotes. Who are you going with at 7?
Well, the Arizona Coyotes are an organization where Dave Tippett has a lot of influence, and he is a guy that I think he's looking for. They need to rebuild their defense, and I would suggest they need the defenseman that would give them the most consistency, because that's the nature of Tippett's personality, and that's Ole Johalevi, who played for the London Knights. He might not have the biggest upside of the run of defenseman that we're likely to see here, but he's probably the most stable and the most consistent of those performers, and he's going to play. There's no question he'll be a legit top 4 NHL defenseman.
Okay, that takes us now to 8. That's Buffalo, and that's me picking. I'll say the Sabres go with Jacob Chychrun here out of Sarnia. He does have a connection to the Pagulas, who of course own the Sabres. Big, strong defenseman, a left shot, a guy that they have some good young D-men right now, but they've kind of focused on forwards in the first rounds the last couple of years. Eichel, Reinhart, that's worked out great. But in this case, I go with Jacob Chychrun. Jack, that takes us to you at number 9. You're the Habs. You're Mark Bergevin. What are they doing here?
Well, there's some questions about PK Subban, whether he's going to be around for the length of that contract. Andrei Markov is aging. Petrie and Gilbert got hurt late in the season, didn't even finish the season. So all of a sudden, their blue line has to be called into question. I think Mikhail Sergachev makes a lot of sense for Montreal for those reasons. They are looking at a building block type of guy. I personally was extremely impressed with his general comportment at the draft. Strikes me as a guy who could survive and do well in that market. And so for that reason, along with a sturdy frame and an offensive upside, nearly 60 points last year in the OHL, I think the Habs will take Sergachev if he's still there at 9.
Okay, Bob? Colorado.
Just for the record, I mean, if I were to do a top 5, I would have Sergachev at 5-6 in that range. That's how much I think of him.
But yet you took Ulevy.
Yeah, but that's because I'm looking at what Arizona would need, not necessarily how I'd rank the defenseman. I think the Canadians would be blocking slap shots in the nude if they could get Sergachev at 9. I think he's a perfect fit for that organization, and I do think they're quite intrigued, with.
But the Coyotes have clothes on for the Finnish defense.
Right. Well, well, that's their nature. They're a little bit more conservative of an organization. Now, Colorado at 10. They've already gone as record. The Avalanche organization, I've got two directions here, but the Avalanche organization is suggesting, you want me to go to that camera? I got it. Avalanche organization is certainly looking at trying to build a bigger defense, but the 3 defensemen that are sort of, I would have in the top 10 are all off the table at this point. That leaves Tyson Jost, who is going to, some people think he's a bit like Jonathan Toews. I'd suggest that's a reach. Yes, he's going to North Dakota. Yes, he has leadership ability. Played great for Canada at the U18. Little bit undersized of a center. To me, a bit along the lines of a Bo Horvat type player, but I do think Colorado would be happy to get him in that spot at 10.
Okay, Bob, that takes us to the end of segment 2. That means we toss to you going one-on-one with Mikhail Sergachev. Thankfully, you didn't block any shots and you were fully clothed. Here it is.
You played for Rocky Thompson, who was an assistant coach with the Edmonton Oilers a year ago, and was his first year head coach in Windsor. Logan Brown's on your team. You've got Logan Stanley. How did you think it went this year in Windsor? And did you get homesick at any point? And how was it playing for Rocky? Because he's a high-energy guy.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of my favorite coaches. So when he helped me a lot. I was homesick kind of like for 10 games, and at some point he helped me, and that helped me a lot. I mean, and we had a great team, young team, and so the coach, like Rocky, is the beast. I mean, he's so good, yeah.
He was a pretty tough guy when he played in the Western Hockey League. Some people have compared you to Drew Doughty. Is that a compliment?
It is a big compliment because Drew Doughty is the best defenseman. I mean, he's the best in the NHL. I think so. And I would like to be like him, or maybe better, maybe. So who knows? But
biggest area you think you need to improve in your game?
Yeah, I mean, I need to be more aggressive in my own net, and then be like tough in front of the net and in the corners. I mean, yeah.
Mikhail, it's been our pleasure to talk to you. Best of luck.
Thanks a lot. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Yep, that's Mikhail Sergachev of the Windsor Spitfires.
All right, we're through picks 1 to 10 in the 2016 edition of the Oilers TV Mock Draft Show. That brings us to selection number 11. That's the New Jersey Devils. That's me in terms of this mock draft show. And at 11, I know Alex Nylander is still on the board, but I think in this case here, the Devils would go with Michael McLeod, bigger power forward type, a guy that, the Devils were last in scoring last year. The defense was good. The goaltending was good. They need to improve. I know they got Pavel Zacha last year in the draft, but the reason why I think they would stray away in this situation through the mock draft from Nylander is because they want a bigger body, and McLeod does provide that. So that's where I'm going with pick number 11. That brings us to Jack at 12 with Ottawa.
And I think they're going to go with a guy who almost made Austin Matthews' single-season points record for the U.S. National Development Program, just that one season. So I'm going with Clayton Keller in the number 12 hole for the Ottawa Sens. I mean, he made a serious run. He finished with 107 points. I mean, those were kind of the numbers that, Kane and Matthews put up in that program.
Bob, that takes us to you at 13 with Carolina.
Well, first of all, with Ottawa, just further Jack's point, I mean, the Americans have done a great job developing young players, and Keller, to me, is a guy I think we both agree that could easily go higher. I actually think Ottawa's pick is going to end up in play. I think Ottawa's looking for some immediate help up front to improve their top six, so keep an eye on that. With Carolina, Alex Nylander's fallen, but they got to take him. I mean, there's another team that's had some challenges offensively. They're trying to get more creative. They've just added Teravainen via trade, but if Alex Nylander is there at 13, I think Carolina's going to be stoked to get him. He's skilled. He's not the right type of guy for Edmonton, as an example, at 4, but he'd be perfect for a team like New Jersey at 11 or like Carolina at 13.
Takes us to 14. with the Boston Bruins, and I'm going to say Charlie McAvoy will be their pick. A lot of talk out of Boston is that they need defensemen. Zdeno Chara is going to be 40 right away. He's not necessarily a big guy, but he does a lot. He's got a well-rounded game from what the scouts say. He plays at Boston University, so he's right in their backyard. I'm sure the Boston scouts have seen him a million times. And reading what the media reports say out of Boston is they really, really like McAvoy at 14. So Bob, or Jack, that takes us to you at 50.
Well, I'm going to go with another Terrier, and that's Kiefer Bellows. And while he's not the hometown pick for Boston, he is a hometown pick for the team that's going to take him at 15, and that's the Minnesota Wild. I mean, Kiefer Bellows, you talk about a guy with a pedigree. His dad, Brian, played 10 years with the Stars, was on the 91 team that went to the final, beating Edmonton along the way. I think this guy makes a lot of sense. He's from nearby Edina. He's going to go to a strong NCAA Division I program, and in a couple years, he's going to be the type of guy that kind of ushers Minnesota into the next phase.
Okay, that takes us to the 32nd pick. Of course, we mentioned earlier the Oilers have 9 picks heading into this.
A lot of variables in play with this one.
So the three of us, the way it's going to work, the three of us are going to pick a player and dissect it. It's kind of open forum, but we'll start with Stoff. So the Oilers are getting up to the table at 32. Bob, go for it, because I think we all know where you're leaning with this one.
Well, if this player is there, I think the Oilers are taking him at 32. He may go in the late 20s, and that's Tyler Benson of the Vancouver Giants from Edmonton.
Southside?
Southside Athletic Club player, but, he had an injury-plagued year. I would compare him, he's physical. To me, he's a bit like Dustin Brown, but has a little bit more skill, maybe not quite as much speed. He had a difficult year, and as a result, there's some people that have him as high as 25, 26, and others that have got him in the 50s.
But his injuries, it's important to note, are not structural.
Right.
He's had the cyst on the back. He doesn't have anything structurally wrong with him.
He's just been unlucky, but it could turn out to be quite lucky for the Oilers. So I'll go with Tyler Benson at 32.
This might be a bit of a wish pick, but I think Carter Hart from Edmonton. Exactly. Edmonton area product, and a guy that I think kind of restocks the coffers a little bit for Edmonton in terms of its goaltending depth, brings another prospect into the stable. I think he would make a lot of sense with a 32nd overall pick. There are some who say he might go before that. My hunch is no goaltender is going to be drafted in the first round this year.
You want to say anything?
Well, that's likely. Dallas might be the one team that would take a swing just because they've missed on some goalies in the past. So too have the Oilers. I know this. The Oilers have got a 1, a 2, and 3 threes. I could foresee the Edmonton Oilers. I would be very surprised if they don't draft at least one goaltender with one of their first with that
one of those third round picks,
or at worst one of those third round picks.
So when we put this mock draft together, I deferred to these guys on 32. I like the idea of Benson, Bob. Carter Hart, talked to him at the Combine. He was absolutely phenomenal. Great kid, big guy, and sounds like he's going to be a really good goalie. But because I deferred, I'm going to be different, and I'm going to say, should the Oilers take someone at 32, it'll be Nathan Bastian out of Mississauga. The reason why is because he's a big body guy with good all-around skill. And what has Peter Chiarelli harped on about his teams over the last year that he's been a part of this organization? He likes big guys with skill, and they have to be able to skate, right? So Bastian fits that mold. And in this scenario here where we've kind of picked a few guys, I see Bastian as kind of fitting that nicely. You like that?
No, it's fine.
All right, great. Good. Well, that concludes.
It's not going to happen, but it's fine.
Thanks, Bob. With that, we say thanks for tuning in to this edition of the 2016 Oilers TV Mock Draft Special. Myself, Jack, and Bob did do a full mock draft to number 32, along with Meg Tilley and Chris Westcott from EdmontonOilers.com. That, of course, is on the Oilers draft page, so you can check that out. The three of us will be in Buffalo for the draft on the 24th and the 25th. Keep it locked right here on Oilers TV, as well as 630 CHED and EdmontonOilers.com.